Hello, everybody. How's it going? This is the first time I've been talking into the mic. As you can see behind me, I've got all these different builds that I've been doing for tutorials and stuff. But today, we're doing something a little different. So, we are going to make some lampposts. Now, lampposts are interesting. I love working with lampposts. And to kind of like get some of the points across today, we're just going to be working with mostly these materials, mostly spruce and stone brick related materials, and of course lanterns. And we'll even get to a couple, like 3 variations of frog lights. But yeah. So there's a couple different variables that determine how your lamppost will turn out. So, for example, height is one. So if you have like, I don't know, let's say 3 blocks high, you kind of want... You can have something at the top, right? You can have like a block, like let's say that's a glowstone block. And that's kind of simple, or like, you could have like just one block and a glowstone block on top, or maybe you have some trapdoors and you surround a lantern with those trapdoors, preferably ones that will let light through, like a jungle trapdoor or acacia trapdoor. Those are some simple ways to do lampposts along like paths, for example, or inside of a city that you're building. However, I like adding depth. I like adding curvature to things. So let's just grab some spruce fence here. Spruce fence is a really good way to, again, adding that extra layer of depth to your lamppost. So if you work with both the stone brick wall and also, or let's say it's another wall, right? If you're working with walls and fences, adding those to a block adds this extra depth. And it actually kind of turns out really nicely when you start like building something out. So let me get rid of this. Let me go ahead and what was I looking for? Ah, yes, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for these spruce stairs. Spruce stairs are a good way to start adding depth to your lampposts. So, for example, this indicates that the lamppost or the lantern is going to be pointing in that direction. And usually you want this hovering over the path. So let's say this like is the path. So this would be hovering over it. And sometimes you want it to be hanging on the center of the path. Other times, if you want to add more variable of like height of the lantern, then you kind of want it off to the side so that when you're running through the path, you're not hitting your head against the lampposts. Now, let's add some extra elements here. So first of all, I'm going to do this. Now, this is an interesting element. It looks really weird, but this is just a part of an extension. So we're just going to add a... Oh, let me do this. We're just going to add a slab. And then we're going to add another one of these. So now you have this extension, but it looks too, it doesn't look as curved. So that's where fence gates can be helpful. In very simple designs, you can add a fence gate, and then you can see it adds this kind of curvature to the overall design of the lamppost. And then we can just add a chain and add a lantern, which I really like this simple design. Sometimes it can be a pain because of the amount of materials you're using for a lamppost, but in the end, when you have all of them built out along your path, especially if you have like a winding path, these look pretty nice. However, what if we wanted something that was wide? Maybe it has 2 lanterns. So let's start with, of course, the stone brick wall. And then let's add some fences here. I've added 4 fences. Actually, let's turn this down to 3. And let's make this a total of 5 tall with the stone brick walls and the fences. And then we will add another element. Let's see. Let's get a barrel. Now, I was messing around quite a bit when I came up with this design. And it's not the greatest, of course. This is one of the beginning designs that I started out with. But it adds an interesting element. Again, you're just adding extra things that are spruce themed or spruce like toned, or like match the overall wood tone that you're going to be using. And just adding that extra element, that extra detail, makes it look a little bit better. So let me just go ahead and extend this out. So we're going to do like a sideways extended lamppost. And so I'm just adding extra bits of things to add depth. It has this slow like decline, right? But again, this angle is too flat. So in this case, I'm going to add some more of these trapdoors. And now you've got a little bit more depth. Of course, less of an arc compared to the first one. But it still looks pretty good. It's a pretty good start. Now, we are going to grab, if I can find it, hold on. I could not find it, so we're just going to look it up here. And it was a grindstone. We're just going to add some grindstones to the edge of this. Again, you're adding an element of arcing to this, right? And I really, really love using grindstones in my builds. If you add a grindstone and you add a chain right below it, it's almost like it's a spool of chain. Like you could unspool it, which adds some really unique characteristics to the lamppost. For example, I could do something like this. So one is longer, the other is shorter, but it doesn't look odd because, again, these are spools. One could be spooled a little longer, the other one could be spooled a little shorter. And of course, you can just make it the same height, which I have done, and it does have some repetition. And again, if you have a winding path, you still have more variation. So having something that has less variation isn't going to detract from your overall path or your overall build. Now, to add on to what I started out with, we have this first build. Now, there we go. So we have that, again, similar build to the previous one, but now, again, with the spool, it just makes it look better. It's a little lower to the ground, you noticed. So something that we can add in the next iteration is height. Because not all lampposts look good in such a short manner. Sometimes you would want this to be higher because, let's say, the path is like winding really close to the lampposts that you're building. We're not going to start on this one here. I'm actually going to start down here because these 3 have the same designs as the one I'll build here, except for we're just switching out some of their elements with frog lights. So we'll just go ahead and get started here. All right, guys. So here is the next lamppost. Now, I really like this version. I've actually used this in so many different builds along so many different pathways. I've used it in cities. I've used it in underground caves. It is by far my favorite design. You have a really good arc here, and you have some of the elements that we've had before. So you still have some of these trapdoors to kind of extend out the lamppost, and you can also add them onto the sides of stripped wood pieces to again add this extra depth. Like this is jutting out to the sides a little bit. You don't want it jutting out too much. And then again, you add another element of depth by extending it out like past the original XY value of the first block that you place. And again, you have this grindstone here, which looks like a spool, and you have this chain coming down from it. And of course, you can add another one, or you can make it less. Let me just place that there. It's spooled all the way up versus it's spooled all the way down. And if you have these along a pathway and you vary each one, so let's say one is this length, one is this length, and then you pop back out, one is this length, then you have that variation that will add to your pathway. All right, now let's get to the next three. I will build these out for the most part. They are going to be fairly similar to this, and we will be right back. All right, now that we're back here, I have 3 of these lampposts set up. As you can tell, this last one's a little bit different, and we'll get to that. And also, these are different variation of this lamppost right over here. Now, the reason why I make this a little bit different and a little bit taller is because we're adding full blocks to these. I have recently been working with frog lights more and more because I love the color variation. It is really nice, especially to use in underground builds, but sometimes you can also add them to your lampposts. Now we're just going to place these actually in backwards order, like so. Now the thing I like to do with full blocks is, one, you can leave them fully exposed. They look very pretty just on their own. However, sometimes you can color match and with trapdoors. So you can place them over like so. Now this purple one, I actually am not a big fan of the crimson trapdoors, especially when there aren't light colors around it. So if you have, let's say, a backdrop of crimson wood or overall nether themed colors, then having this won't be a big issue. And of course, you can change out the wood, the spruce wood, for another wood, possibly the crimson wood as well. However, sometimes you can choose some other options that might work well, like this so. And sometimes it really doesn't matter because overall you'll just be seeing the center light. So in this case, it looks a little bit better. Of course, having that bottom one, the bottom trapdoor, makes it look a little bulky. But we can move on to this guy. Now, the verdant frog light, I think, goes pretty well with the warped trapdoor. Overall, it looks pretty good. And sometimes these will look bulky with the trapdoors, but something you can do to mediate that is you can have these lampposts be in a higher position and hanging further down. Like, let's say there is maybe not this tall. Let's say you have this cliffside right here, and you've got this pathway going through the cliffside, kind of looping around. Then you could place one of these onto here, and again, you have this spooled effect. Maybe you choose this one, and you can have these hanging further down, so the block will be here, while the entire arc of the lamppost will be up here. Now, by far my favorite. Frog light is, of course, the ochre version. And the reason why I like it is because its colors are so similar to glowstone. And I love the yellow of glowstone. It's just such a classic color for Minecraft. And you can use bamboo trapdoors as an extra accent. And honestly, these are my favorite. The combination of these two is my favorite. And the reason why it's my favorite is because of just how detailed of a design the bamboo trapdoor has. It just adds such an interesting element to your lampposts. As a final version of these lampposts, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to completely ignore our sense of depth here, our sense of arcs, our sense of depth when it comes to lampposts, and we're just going to try something fun and new. And what I'm talking about is, in fact, shelves. Shelves, when they were added, created so many possibilities, not just with framing of windows and, of course, trims for walls, but also you can add depth to other things. You can add extra elements like that. Now, I will go into another video dealing with shelves, and we will actually make a lot of chairs and outdoor designs with shelving. I just love this curled little accent that it adds to the edges of things. Alrighty then, I will see you in a sec. Alright, we have a new set of materials we are working with here. So again, similar vibes, spruce things. We have this shelf here. Why do I have this spruce wood here? Well, let's find out. Now, you'd think I would want to do, let's say, something like this, where I extend upward with fence or stone brick walls, but we're going to completely ignore walls and fences. We are actually going to make this super bulky. So let's just make this a little bit taller here. And we probably want 5 blocks tall. I think that's good. Now at the bottom, we're going to just add shelving. And this is not any different from what I did here at the bottom with these trapdoors. It's adding this extra element of depth to the very bottom block. However, because the rest of this thing is so thick, we are going to have to add more depth to the top as well. Now, at first, this looks way too bulky. But as you start to add the arc, let's grab out stairs real quick. As we add the arc here, you start getting a little bit of a curve. Again, looks super silly, but you just gotta trust the process. More depth. More and more and more and more depth. And if you add this extension out here, I don't know if I want to do 2 or 3. I don't know what will look better here. Or let me just get this right. Hold on. Now 3 looks a little derpy. If we did a slab, that also looks a little derpy. So what we're gonna do is we're going to reduce this to 2. And yes, it does look a little jank. It does look maybe too chunky with this center pillar. But that's okay, because we're having fun. We're having fun with designing different lampposts. And so we can give different things a try. So now we're going to add the spool and, of course, the lantern. This might be something that is used in underground structures, or another use case could be if there were massive archways in the underground build that you're doing. So it does have its use. It just might be more niche. Again, all of these along this section here probably have more uses than this one, but this one is no less important than the rest of these. And the reason why it would still have its own use case instead of, like, if we were to use this instead of this one, of course, is because we want to have variation. Again, you can have different types of wood. So you could have this be a different color. You could have this be oak, or you could have this be dark oak as well. It will still add variation. It will still benefit you to use something like this in a world where you already have this and all of these. So you can add more variation to your world. And that is the most important thing when you're building, is adding details, adding depth, adding more variation. And that, and like texturing. Texturing is another example of adding variation. It just adds an extra depth, an extra element to your builds. In upcoming videos, I will show you some other examples of lampposts, but not only that, I will show you how to do paths. Paths are amazing. They add detail to your world that you absolutely need. And I could also show you staircase examples, like let's say if you have your house on top of a mountain, or let's say you would want to add a bridge across mountains. Then in that case, you would need that pathway to connect to those things. But I hope you enjoyed watching this video and learning how to do lampposts, and more will be coming soon. Thank you very much.